In this video, I'm going to share one thing that may change the whole way you look at all the things that are happening today. But first, let's take a look at why this shift can be so powerful. One of the main differences between the world of yesterday as opposed to the world today is that before, although the news was filled with fear, today that fear is combined with recent events to make the whole thing seem a lot more plausible than it was in the past. So for example, when people talked about major superpowers going to war, in the past it was like, okay, yes, they could go to war someday, but it's probably not going to happen today. Now with the last few years under our belt, the extreme experiences that we've had make that whole scenario seem a lot more likely than it did in the past. Now, one thing that a lot of people agree on is we're slaves to a system.
The average consumer is enslaved to a massive economic engine of advertising, consumer goods, the whole thing. And you feel like you're really volitional and acting by your free will to go buy that next thing, not realizing you are just an uncared for slave in a system that's cranking you through to generate something for a very few people. Slavery is actually a mentality at the genetic level. You have to be disempowered genetically for your cells to believe that you would be subject to anything.
Right.
If at the genetic level you are tied into your full potential, there's no way somebody can enslave you, right? You'll happily die fighting against that tyranny.
There are a number of things happening today that are waking people up to our true potential. And through that, many people are realizing there are actual ways to escape that whole slavery right now, today. Now, one way to make this shift come alive is to basically mimic what nature does.
As soon as nature discovers a new level of intelligence, it shares it immediately.
It's open source.
And so we are going the opposite direction of life by just the way that we think about information and things and the ownership and this very disease-inducing phenomenon of the concept of dominion. Right. As soon as we think there's scarcity, we need to own it. Oh my God. There's not enough copper or gold on the world. I should own as much as possible.
Nature actually shares breakthroughs. This sense of abundance is throughout nature itself. Now, of course, we've been sold that it's just the opposite, that there's all this competition and that it's every man for himself or survival of the fittest. But when you look at nature itself and how much abundance it actually produces, compared to some of the competition or death and so on that naturally occurs, there's a very big difference between the two. So we've been programmed up until now with this sense of scarcity instead of abundance. Now, by deprogramming ourselves from that sense of scarcity to one of abundance, then we remove a lot of the levers that control us. The fear, the manipulation become basically ineffective. Yet to really make this shift, we need to share like nature does. And one way of doing that is to shift away from reactionary mode. Now, one way of shifting away from reactionary mode is by having time and location-based freedoms. These allow you to, instead of just react to what's coming at you, have the capacity or time to actually think about things. If you're always working and just barely making ends meet, you're not going to have the capacity to really take a breath and really think about what you want to do next. It's more just reacting. And that's really by design. So that when you have time and location-based freedoms, you have some time to contemplate, which a lot of people consider a luxury. But it's not. It's critical to our own capacity to excel and level up rather than just being always in survival mode. Now, there are a lot of different ways to get location and time-based freedom, but one of them involves actually mimicking nature and sharing things, sharing ideas, sharing concepts, and getting people to take action and really create new possibilities through that. Now, to check out one way to get time and location-based freedom, check out the link in the description. There's no email opt-in required. It gives you some basic ideas and one way to get started. Regardless of what you do, one thing is clear. We do have an abundance of possibility. Our human nature is very resilient. We seem to have the capacity to basically think outside of these scenarios that come at us and create solutions that are hadn't been thought of before. We're continually, reaching beyond boundaries that have been there for quite a while. And that's within our human nature to not only be creative, but cooperative and inventive at the same time. So combine that with the abundance of nature. And I think we have a real possibility to not only just get through these interesting times, but also thrive well above where we have before. If you found this video helpful, be sure to give it a like. And then if you want to see more, check out this video and this video. See you next time.